We are back, folks. I should have opened this with the mic. It would have been very satisfying. But here's my high noon. We're enjoying Stella over there, I believe. Cheers.
Correct. Imports.
Cheers. Thank you, guys. Happy birthday to me. Oh, enjoying a little beverage for the fun half. It's been a long week.
Feliz aniversario, as Bolsonaro would say. Feliz aniversario.
You got to flex that a little bit more that you know 3 languages, right?
Yeah, just
Portuguese, Spanish, and English.
English.
There you go. The amazing Grando. Interesting. Emma made a wish and blew out the candle, but I've yet to see any breaking news. Happy birthday regardless.
We're almost there a whole week of Sam being on vacation without any,
I know.
Bloomberg's still around.
I wonder if his mission hit a snag. Congressional baseball fan James Carville's one true talent is smelling the winds of change like a cartoon character smelling pie on a windowsill. Humble Southern listener, interesting seeing more folks in GOP Kentucky that are now sounding nervous about tariffs and ignoring the courts. Basic Republicans, not MAGA cultists, obviously. I haven't seen that, but that's interesting because, as I said before, like both Rand Paul and McConnell, the senators from Kentucky, have been really outspoken against the tariffs, in part because of how massive the bourbon industry there is and how important their relationship is with Canada as a trade relationship with that bourbon.
It's smart for foreign countries to target, say, Musk sort of investments or red state stuff, unfortunately. And that's, I think, like, maybe it was Trudeau or those folks up there in Canada that were saying they're going to do that. Like, yeah, it's red states we're going to go after
target
first.
Yeah. Risu says, can I get a shofar for my cousin Steven, who passed away this week? Only a few years younger than Emma. He was a huge Yankees, Knicks, and Man City fan. I'm so sorry to hear about your loss. This goes out to Steven. Lots of very nice happy birthdays. Mia Pink, Crotchy, Lori, Center Spiral, Nate the Great, Jules, thank you all so much. Matt from Brazil, just to add some context to the Bolsonaro clip, he always gets sick when he's under threat of being imprisoned.
See, that's the thing is, like, we've done this many times with Bolsonaro, countless, in fact, and after like the 5th or 6th time, I start to feel like we're not laughing at him. Well, we are laughing at him, but we're laughing at him sort of having some sort of fetishistic hospital play thing going on. Like, it's very strange how often he's there and how much he views it as a photo op.
Yeah. JR in Philly, James Carville is a function of our society's unlimited ability to recycle old ideas. He's like the political Marvel movie. M says Carville talked at my university about, or at the height of Bernie's first run, and someone asked him what he thought of Bernie, and he essentially said young people were being stupid for liking Bernie and that we just need to give up on him. Joanna, so glad Cody came on. I love some more news. I'm thankful for progressive content. I'd be completely mad without it. Pandemic anxiety. Chuck had to yield to Trump because he made that anti-Bibi speech and had to get back in the donor's good graces. He tried to strike Bibi and missed. He has such bad timing. Dark Soul. Chuck Schumer calling for the public to do vigilante justice before he has to do his job. Plastic Oceans. Dang, Emma didn't pull any punches in that interview. Good to see. Thank you. Tim in Toronto. Hey, Amar. Wondering if it's worth talking about countering the narrative that because Garcia is alive, CCOT must not be that bad, as per Bukele's reaction on Twitter to Van Hollen meeting with Garcia. To be clear, this is a huge win that Van Hollen got and showed courage to find and meet with Garcia. Just wanted to consider with this victory what comes next. Well, he still hasn't been released. I mean, the man who's the hairdresser is still in there. There are so many
people.
Many people. But, you know, where is the hairdresser from? Who is his senator? Do we know? Like, there's no excuse His name is Andre Jose Hernandez Romero. I'm trying to find out where he lives. But we'll see. I'm not sure. Russ will look into that. But like, this happened because Chris Van Hollen decided to actually be a real senator and leader.
But I agree 100% that like this is only a step. There are so many more people. Even if Abrego Garcia was brought home today, which would be amazing news, nobody should be there. We should not be sending anyone, even confirmed gang members. We have prisons here. We should not be sending anyone to a prison where if someone is sent there accidentally, we can't get them out. That partnership has to be done.
Yep. Lily Cheney, please call Van Hollen's office and thank him, especially if you're in Maryland. MJS 617, Emma, there seemed to be a barrage of messaging yesterday coming from inside the House that advocated for abandoning the immigration issue because it remained a strong point for Trump in polling. It all seemed very coordinated. Harry Enting was at the tip of the spear.
Chris Cillizza too, Gavin Newsom. It's a little bit
Iglesias.
Rich. It's a little bit rich from the people who were not able to understand the cost of living crisis back during the last primary to the point where it was a major liability for the Biden and Harris campaigns. Now all of a sudden saying we need to stay focused to bread and butter issues. As we mentioned yesterday, the already stark collapse in tourism is a material issue. That's not because of the tariffs. It's because of what they're doing at the border processing stuff. So like those folks, they're complicit. There are Vichy Democrats that are collaborating with fascists and don't actually like. Chuck Schumer is an anti-Palestinian fanatic, and he leads the Democrats in the Senate. That he's not alone. Also,
yeah. Vince K. Lortho, Emma, folks like you helped me journey from 90s neocon to bona fide pinko commie. Happy birthday and mazel tov on your nuptials. That's great to hear. Longtime listener, watched The Handmaid's Tale last night. I saw a pro-Israel commercial at least 4 times per episode where they highlighted October 7th and the families who are missing and the hostages taken. It's interesting. I mean, who watches The Handmaid's Tale? I stopped after like 2 seasons because there's a certain level where it becomes a little bit of like tragedy porn, and that's not my thing. Although I love Elizabeth Moss, acting, not the Scientology. But liberals watch that show. So Israel is targeting liberals. Right?
Well, that's probably who's shaky right now.
Exactly.
And that's who should be, because anyone who professes to be a liberal that supports Israel is actually a fascist.
Let's see what we have here in the sound sheet. Okay, this one's quick. Oh, I thought it was what you had. No, let's do this. What number is this? This is not on here. It's not on here?
I
Okay.
have some information about Andre Garcia.
Oh, you do?
I'm sorry, Andre Jose Hernandez Romero.
Yep.
He was detained trying to cross the border into San Diego, and that's where they documented the tattoos. So it would seem to be, I don't know, maybe an Adam Schiff constituent.
Excuse me, take a break.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm good. Just went down the wrong way.
Someone mentioned Harry Enton earlier. Another fun Russ fact. Harry Enton used to regularly sleep in the CNN office in Chris Cuomo's little cubicle on an air mattress.
What the hell's going on over there?
I don't know. Yeah, you gotta spill more tea. Hey Now says he lives in California. So Adam Schiff has got to get on this. I'm gonna read some.
It'd be nice if Adam Schiff did anything that wasn't.
Well, Russ made this point too, just another like Kamala. You made this point the other day. Kamala Harris is like a really poor movement politician. Pretty poor, I would say, like galvanizing speaker. But her best strength is her being a prosecutor. And for the 2 years she was in the Senate, she was doing some pretty good grilling of the Trump administration. And another reason Biden failed us is like he could have picked somebody else if he just wanted them to be an ornament who wasn't a useful senator for us. And Adam Schiff is a definitely like not. I mean, I think Adam Schiff is one of the most corporate Democrats that we could have had as a senator from California, unfortunately.
And deep state war machine sort of Democrat, in my opinion.
Right. Molly Gray Jedi. I love that Russ comes with the tea. Very nice. All right. I've gotten a hold of myself. Tommy Vitor of Crooked Media, of Pod Save America, did this video talking about Miss Rachel, who is a like wonderful children's content creator. And a lot of parents, I know some young parents who swear by her and how much she helps their kids and teaches them and allows them to learn. And she's recently been creating videos for the children in Gaza. And you see them smiling as they watch her videos surrounded by rubble. It's like an objectively beautiful thing. Not for the Israel lobby. They have been putting her on a list and targeting her with harassment for daring to care about the children in Gaza and making videos for them to cheer them up. Here's Tommy explaining what happened.
Nearly every parent with young kids has heard of Miss Rachel. She's a former teacher who makes adorable educational content for kids on YouTube. Her videos have gotten over 10 billion views, many of which were streamed to my house, by the way. But things haven't been so happy for Miss Rachel lately. Last week, a group called Stop Anti-Semitism, which is known for doxing students it perceives to be anti-Israel and then asking people to report them to ICE, they called on Attorney General Pam Bondi to investigate whether Miss Rachel is getting paid to, quote, disseminate Hamas-aligned propaganda to her millions of followers, as this may violate Foreign Agents Registration Act. Allow me to unpack the many, many, many layers of bullshit in that sentence. First of all, Miss Rachel has never posted pro-Hamas propaganda, not even close. She's posted images of traumatized children in the Gaza Strip. She's raised over $50,000 for kids in conflict zones. That includes Sudan, Ukraine, and yes, Gaza. And she's posted about Israeli children who are being held hostage by Hamas. Do you see a through line there? She cares deeply about the well-being of children. Second, if Miss Rachel or anyone else was taking money from Hamas, they wouldn't be violating the Foreign Agents Registration Act or FARA. They would be working with a designated foreign terrorist organization. You have to register under FARA to lobby for a foreign country. DOJ wouldn't greenlight you doing PR for a terrorist organization, you morons. Third, this letter, which just happened to be leaked to the New York Post, how convenient, it suggests that Miss Rachel's social media posts were intended to inspire pro-Hamas sympathies among young kids. But these were Instagram posts. This was not her YouTube content for kids. I don't know about you, but I don't know a lot of 3-year-olds with Instagram accounts or opinions about the Middle East for that matter. This is nothing more than an attempt to silence someone who's trying to talk about the humanity of those suffering in Gaza and the need to protect all children. It's an outgrowth of the weaponization of social media that is being used to target critics of Israeli government policies and to have those individuals deported or otherwise punished by the Trump administration. Anti-Semitism is a real problem in this world, and it has been for centuries. It is absolutely critical that we call it out and we support Jews around the world who feel threatened or intimidated. But this attack on Miss Rachel is a cynical weaponization of a real problem for political purposes, and it will ultimately make the problem worse, not better. So to everybody out there, leave Miss Rachel the hell alone, or you will awaken an army of pissed off toddlers and exhausted parents.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And she posted this on her social media in reaction to this crazy harassment that Tommy did a good job of recapping there. Children have human rights. These rights are not just for some children. They are for all children. Standing up for children, especially those who are most vulnerable, is the right thing to do. And you know what I hear when I hear that? I hear her say, Jews be gone.
You are having an emotional breakdown right now.
I mean, come on.
This is it though. This is emblematic. This is not like a sort of unexpected thing. This is what groups like Stop Anti-Semitism, the Anti-Defamation League, a lot of these groups, they will claim anti-Semitism. What they really mean is sometimes not even criticism of Israel. Sometimes it's just recognizing Palestinian humanity, because frankly, that young kids in Palestine, in Gaza, Zionists in particular, see that as a demographic threat. And when you're just saying you belong in this world, children, here's some content for you to watch among the rubble, that inspires life. And that is something that Israel can't abide.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that something just to sit with and ponder for a second? That it's actually a threat to the Israeli project for kids in Gaza to have joy and to feel hope.
To not be terrorized.
And then they conflate that with hatred because these folks are completely disinterested in eradicating anti-Semitism. When you take these kinds of stances and you set up doxing campaigns to target somebody who is providing joy for little children who may be amputees or who are starving in the Gaza Strip. It's been weeks.
Plus dozens of family.
Since aid has been allowed in. Food, we have no idea what the conditions are really like there. And I saw some images out of the Washington Post that show children who are just skeletons. Like, there could be kids right now wasting away. It's hard for us to even discern because Israel has killed so many journalists and media workers to make it impossible for us to understand the true death toll, the true totality of the brutality. We know it's hundreds of thousands. There's folks still using this 40,000, 50,000, 60,000 figure. I think even using that is misinformation because we had doctors, 99 doctors and physicians, nurses, medical workers who were Americans write to Biden and Harris in October, and they said at minimum the death toll is 118,000. Lancet, a very well-established medical journal, also did their own analysis, and I think it was over 180K around that exact same time. So we know that the death toll is just absolutely exponentially higher than what's being reported. And Israel is trying to implement their final solution as we speak. So God forbid this woman provide joy for kids there. And apparently she had to take a break after this because of all the harassment she's been facing. Ryan from The Lou says, Miss Rachel took a long break from making vids due to stress. This is part of the reason she took that break. My 2-year-old is going to be pissed.
I just say, all parents out there, you have more programming to feel, less guilty about. If I was a parent, I would love to find creators like that are willing to stand up for that sort of thing and post that sort of message. And she's absolutely right. And it is a evil shame that so many people like her or Greta Thunberg or these people that have these sort of public-facing roles are made to. Even Hassan at that point, like the amount of hate, the amount of smears that come from Zionists, we need to just say, shut up. No. Yeah. And
link our arms around her. It's a good way for us to transition to this story. We had meant to play this yesterday, but Mohhsen Mahdawi spoke to CBS News, and this was on Sunday, recorded on Sunday, the day before he was taken by immigration officials, cops, the day before he was detained. He was, Russ, the guy that showed up to his hearing, right? Yep. So we don't know if this was a sham immigration hearing, honestly, because they're trying to meet their quotas, but he was doing everything right, Mohhsen Mahdawi. He's Palestinian. He's spoken out against the slaughter, but he is explicitly a peace activist. And he went to go to his immigration hearing and was scooped up and disappeared by ICE officials.
And you mentioned the hearing thing is so important because J.D. Vance and a lot of these guys are saying, well, we've actually been so overwhelmed that we can't, the courts are overwhelmed. They're literally intervening in court dates that have already been scheduled to snatch people up. The idea that they respect or care, that this is all motivated by courts being overwhelmed is just a lie.
It's a lie, and they're also using some of the systems that they put in place to formalize like the files or keep track of people who are here in this country without documentation or who may be applying for asylum. They are using those tools to now target those folks, including the Social Security number program that Trump set up in his first term, which allowed people who were here without documentation to apply for non-voting Social Security cards so they could use that maybe as a piece of evidence like, I'm a good person, I want to be a citizen one day, or maybe if they need a driver's license or some other kind of government documentation. Right now, Trump 2.0 is using that program to zero in on these people and target them like they're criminals when they were all trying to do the right thing. But it's important to play this because they're claiming this guy's a terrorist, and it seems like they probably saw this footage or knew this was happening or knew he was speaking out. I'm not sure about the timeline.
Well, he gave a 60 Minutes interview previous to this, which is, I think, what he, according to him, is what put him on like the lists of all those hardcore Zionist organizations saying.
And this is a separate CBS interview.
Yes, this was a previous interview that was like a few weeks prior to when this interview was recorded.
So here he is explaining in his own words what his activism means.
Democracy are much more tied. The American people are realizing now that there is strong correlation between the injustice that's happening in Palestine and the injustice that's happening here and the attack on free speech.
There's an appointment that you're showing up to.
Correct.
What is this appointment for, and when did it come in?
This appointment is for my citizenship application, the M400 application, which is a naturalization process. It was scheduled on March, I believe, 27th.
After your name has been out there.
Yes.
Obviously.
And during my time sheltering in place.
Is this an appointment you've been waiting for years?
I've been waiting for this appointment since February of 2024.
Okay.
It was expected to be the window for it between November and January.
When you got the appointment, what were your thoughts?
My mind went, mixed feelings, right? It's the first feeling of like, I've been waiting for this for more than a year. Mm. And the other feeling is like, wait a minute, is this a honey trap? Will I get detained there?
You think they could be calling you in to detain you?
Correct.
If that's the case, why was it important for you to speak with us before showing up there?
Because I believe that this story is very important for the American people. And because I believe that if I get detained tomorrow, Monday, this detention would be unjust and unfair and in violation of the principles of this country.
When you think about perhaps the Khalil case where he was taken at night and we were not able to hear from him after, what do you want people to hear from you in the case that you are detained?
I want people to know that the work and the activism that we have done was centered in the energy of love. Mm. We did it because of our love for humanity, our love for justice, our love for human rights. And I want people to know that my compassion extended beyond the Palestinian people. My compassion is also for the Jewish people and for the Israelis as well. So people need to actually look at both sides and figure out what is the truth. Because the accusation that the Palestinian cause and the pro-Palestine movement at Colombia was anti-Semitic is a false accusation. And it is unjust accusation.
You've had time to think about what's happening to you and others. What do you think is the ultimate goal?
The ultimate goal, as I see it, is censoring people, preventing them from sharing their truth and controlling them by fear.
You say you're not hiding, you're sheltering in place, but people don't know where you are. Mm-hmm. Why is that?
Because basically I'm in jeopardy. I mean, my freedom is in jeopardy. The courts have not ruled yet on this situation clearly. I believe that the track will be corrected, but now it's a matter of time. It's a storm. The way how I see it, this is a storm. When there is a strong storm, we shelter. When the storm is over, we go out again.
The storm is not over and you're showing up to this meeting. Why?
Because I believe in the cause, the Palestinian cause, and I believe in justice. This meeting, because tomorrow could be actually the day where the storm might take me away. And then my voice may not be heard for a very long time. So I am giving this interview because I have faith. Faith in the people who have open hearts and who don't want to shut their eyes, who want to see the truth for what it is. My people are dying. My family has suffered. My cousins, 6 cousins have been killed. My uncle, I saw him killed in front of my eyes as a child. My best friend was shot in front of my eyes. I was shot in my leg. And all of these efforts are there to silence me, to say nothing about these stories that deserve to be heard.
What a brave, incredible person.
I keep saying them kids, but like, you know, just because I'm like,
He's in his 30s.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I just, this Mahmoud Khalil also, letter from Mahmoud Khalil in the ICE detention center in Louisiana. I just want to read a little bit of this. The incarceration of 70,000 Japanese American citizens is a reminder that rhetoric of justice and freedom obscures the reality that all too often America has been a democracy of convenience. Rights are granted for those who align with power, for the poor, the people of color, for those who resist injustice. Rights are but words written on water. The right to free speech when it comes to Palestine has always been exceptionally weak. Even so, the crackdown on universities and students reveals just how afraid the White House is of the idea of Palestine's freedom entering the mainstream. Why else would Trump officials not only attempt to deport me, but also intentionally mislead the public about who I am and what I stand for? Same thing with Mohhsen Mahdawi here. Khalil concludes, I write this letter as the sun rises, hoping that the suspension of my rights will raise alarm bells that yours are already in jeopardy. I hope it will inspire your outrage at the most basic human instinct to protest shameless massacre is being repressed by obscure laws, racist propaganda, and a state terrified of an awakened public. I hope this writing will startle you into understanding that a democracy for some, a democracy of convenience, is no democracy at all. I hope it will shake you into acting before it is too late.
These are modern day freedom fighters, heroes. He understood what he was facing, but as he says towards the end, he's faced worse. He's been shot. He's seen his family killed in front of him, his best friend killed in front of him. He's not afraid. He's not going to be afraid of these fascists, and it's our responsibility to stand up for him. Mahdawi has been a lawful permanent resident of the United States for 10 years. He went in for that naturalization interview in Vermont, where his permanent residence is. He is explicitly a peace activist who has been working with Jewish students on Columbia's campus. Mahdawi, 34, who was active in Buddhist affairs on campus, worked to form a broad-based coalition of advocates for peace in both Israel and Gaza, even as other pro-Palestinian student protesters grew more radical, according to his classmates and associates. Mahdawi condemned anti-Semitism during public protests and deliberately sought to include Jewish and Israeli students in discussions. Last fall, Mahdawi began weekly meetings with Israeli students to discuss their upbringing and beliefs about the long-simmering Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The associate said, he's being more generous than, frankly, I would be. About, like, I don't necessarily want to hear from Israeli students about their experience, frankly, because it's like, I don't want to hear about the aggressor's feelings if they're not standing with the people who are being oppressed. I would be very impatient with that. I'm not as good of a person as Mohhsen Mahdawi, who is now rotting in ICE detention, it appears.
And as a peace activist, like that's the problem actually, because Zionists don't want peace. That's why there can't be a ceasefire or a permanent ceasefire. Any ceasefire that Israel proposes is a temporary one, which allows them to reload and allows IDF to go to some raves and rest for a little bit before they start massacring people again. The truth is that Zionism is about conquest of an area and removing the people from that area. So anybody that says actually we can all coexist in this area is a threat to them. And this is all stuff that we've theoretically said the entire time I've been doing this sort of work and talking about BDS laws. It's here now, and there's no like next step. They're just going to keep. I mean, what are they accusing Mahdawi of doing?
Being a terrorist.
Yeah,
I think
insane. And that's the thing is like we can all recognize when Bukele calls Abrego Garcia a terrorist that this is a ridiculous use of the term. We need to now use that same pattern recognition and apply it to when Zionists claim that they're fighting terrorism, because they are not fighting terrorism. They are provoking terrorism by fighting a demographic of people whose land they are stealing with war crimes.
Yep. And I also want to be clear about the accusations about the Trump administration. Basically, I'm not sure if they're actually explicitly calling him a terrorist. The Department of Homeland
aligned with terrorism.
I think it's the anti-Semitism thing.
Yeah, I mean, the most updated article we have, this is all shrouded in incredible secrecy, is from Gothamist. The Department of Homeland Security has now responded to a request for comment about Mahdawi's arrest, and ICE spokesperson referred questions to the Office of Secretary of State Marco Rubio, whose spokespeople have not responded, but a memo from Rubio states that the Trump administration is seeking to deport Mahdawi because his activities could potentially undermine the Middle East peace process.
Yeah,
peace!
Ridiculous.
He's literally a peace activist.
The conquest process is what Rubio means in the Orwellian turn of phrase.
Kudos to Congressman Kassar. He was one of the Democrats who voted against the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. But that seems to be also, Emma, your point when you were asking him, is the conversation changing internally in the Democratic caucus? At some point, there has to be a conversation about, overturning that.
I'm
that
bored.
bill.
I'm not bored. That's such a blasé way to refer to it. I am frustrated by even our most progressive members. Like Bernie is shouting down Palestine protests at that rally.
Yep, it's a shame. I want to propagandize for that thing, and they're having people taken out because they're putting Palestine flags up by cops.
Why, dude? Like, stop. I mean, even the repetition of Israel has a right to defend itself.
Yep, cut that out too, please.
And like, I think the squad members have been better than Sanders on this in terms of like AOC and Ilhan and of course Rashida Tlaib early on calling it a genocide, speaking out about Israel. But even our most left-wing members of Congress are not meeting the reality of what the situation is, which is that we need a South Africa-style Truth and Reconciliation Commission after a peace process that reintegrates the territory of Israel into one that is a democratic state for Palestinians and Israelis to live side by side. Now, people will say to me, well, you don't think Israel has a right to exist then? I mean, I don't necessarily think that's the right construction. I think Israelis that are there currently have a right to live in peace unless they're war criminals and they should be tried in court, and then we make those determinations. But so the Palestinians. And the question is with Israel having taken so much territory, basically ethnically cleansing the entire Gaza Strip as is their goal, taking so much of the West Bank and settling there, they have created a one-state reality where there's 3 million people in the occupied West Bank who they have complete control over, and then they've created an open-air concentration camp where they're executing a final solution against Palestinians in the Gaza Strip to take that land, to create one state. There will never be two states. Never, ever, ever. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't make predictions. There might be as a step to another. But like in terms of the current facts on the ground, as the Israelis would say, it's impossible unless Israel gives up a bunch of land that it's illegally stolen. And I don't see that coming. So what is the best situation is that we intervene internationally to make sure that we create a state like South Africa where apartheid falls and everybody can have access to that land. And there are still problems in South Africa. The white landowners own like 70% of the farmland, for example. That there has been enough done. But this is, people will say that's impossible. No, the current situation is impossible.
We're paying utopia prices already for apartheid. And the thing is like, please tell me about Israel's right to exist, because I think it's actually something that the reason it's insisted upon is because it's actually really questionable. When we define Israel as a demographic majority of a certain population that wasn't there but could only be produced through conquest and war crimes, which is what Israel has been produced through, doesn't have the right to exist. If we want to talk about some hypothetical Israel, where everyone within that region is given one vote, one man, one vote, one person, one vote. I would say it's probably a compromise to even call that Israel. I would prefer it called Palestine, and then also assure the safety of Jews in that region too. I think generally that shouldn't have been the place for refuge. I think maybe America should have taken more back in the day. But now that this is here, yes, the two-state solution is just a fiction harbored by people that want to let Bibi Netanyahu continue to roll over Palestinian bodies. It will look like the Bantustans of South Africa in any kind of scenario. It's just very clear that that's what Israel sees as the model. That's why they supported South Africa when it was an apartheid state. One person, one vote, and the problem with that is. And you see this everywhere. I remember Robbie Soav being like, well, of course we can't have the right to return. There's so many people in media that are just like, right to return, that's obviously ridiculous. Well, the UN doesn't think so. And I'll just say, like, you cannot displace people using, if you do displace people permanently and settle ground after conquest, that is a war crime. So I don't think war crimes have the right to exist. I think that's what modern Israel is, a giant war crime.
Chris in Texas, Israel should be considered an active invasion. DSA Aaron in Atlanta, no state has the right to exist, especially an apartheid genocidal fascist state. Randy Gornberg, do Palestinians have a right to defend themselves? Does Palestine have a right to exist? Ask these questions every time you hear someone ask about Israel's rights. That's the other thing, is why I'm pessimistic about the idea of a two-state solution as well, is like, that would necessitate Palestine in the second state having a army. You think Israel's going to agree to that? You think so? Good luck.
To this point of the right of return, like, I'm Jewish, so I've never, I'm not from Israel. No one in my immediate family is from Israel. My grandparents, my great-grandparents, none of us were from Israel. But I have a right to go there and become a citizen, should I so choose. One of my best friends growing up from the same suburb I grew up in San Diego, his name is Sam, shout out Sam, is Palestinian. Or Palestinian American, and he does not have a right to immigrate to Israel. He can't just decide because he feels like it that he wants to up and move there. And one more point I wanted to make, there was a fringe radical left-wing thinker during the Obama years. His name was John Kerry, who said famously, Israel can either be a democracy or it can be a Jewish state. It can't be both. Yep.
Exactly right.
John Kerry, the radical
Hamas supporter,
the Antifa Secretary of State,
the upside down red triangle, John Kerry.
I mean, when I look at him, I just think militant.
Wait till Hamas gets a windsurfing.
I almost made a distasteful joke. All right. Not a gay, just asserting dominance, bro, says the IDF first claimed Hamas teaches 2-year-olds to want to kill Jews. Now they're saying Miss Rachel is teaching that to American 2-year-olds. You can't make that stuff up.
Well, you can use it to assess the earlier claims about what they say about Palestinians. And maybe, I think within Israel probably could be some scrutiny inward as to what they're teaching about Palestinians. Just a thought.
Nate in Cape Cod says, Emma, what you discussed with your guest yesterday about what actually motivates RFK and Mahat really resonated with me. The idea that they're selling false empowerment against not just the medical establishment, but against the concept of disability itself. Few RFK fans I know fit this description. Yes, and they're generally kind of like anxious people that, I think that you summed it up nicely. I don't need to add to it, honestly. Squirt Cobain, was Van Hollen allowed in the CCOT facility, or did Bukele have Garcia meet him outside? I'm still freaked out by those images, and we need the congressional delegation and the UN to visit the facility immediately. We do need that. I asked Russ, I said, just like keep an eye out for if Van Hollen makes a broader statement about what he saw there before the show. And to my understanding, it doesn't seem like that's happened yet. He was there on a diplomatic mission, so my guess is it's going to be very careful what he says. Publicly.
Look, again, like we mentioned yesterday, I wouldn't be dismissive of certain imagery, satellite imagery and stuff that have put out, but you don't need that to assess CCOT as one of the central crimes against humanity in this world right now. It's the largest mega prison there is. It's holding people incommunicado, probably torturing people at large scale. And it's going to lead to probably, I mean, just the logic of these sorts of things is unless you're rehabilitating people and figuring out some way to transition them from cages, budgetarily speaking, you're probably going to end up looking for the cheap way out, which is to kill them.
Right. Born Blue says, yesterday I started gathering names of those extradited and where they're from. So far, I only have 4, but I know there are more. Yeson, Rodrigo, Yamez, Rincon, Chicago, Mario Gutierrez, New York, Andre Hernandez Romero, the makeup artist, but I can't find where he's from either.
El Faro, a Central American publication, has a bunch of good coverage of this stuff.
Kowalski from Nebraska, the Wisecrack channel is shutting down to restructure or something. So one of their hosts, Michael Burns, is going to be doing his own channel from here on out. I think most MR fans would enjoy and probably would be a good guest. Today, towards the end, he said he was quitting woke, as the kids might say. In his last message on Wisecrack, he said free Palestine, so we know he's a good dude. Left his best. Happy birthday.
Oh, yeah, Wisecrack is a great channel. I'm sorry to see what happened over there. I'm not sure, but yeah, Burns is great.
Jefferson Davis Vance, it's fun. It's the fun half now. So, Russ, what football teams do you support?
Boca Juniors in Argentina. And, NYCFC, I have sort of a love-hate relationship with.
The Florida State shooting has been identified as a 20-year-old student and the son of a local sheriff's deputy.
Oh, my God. Yeah, gosh, there's so much news that didn't even make my headlines.
I do think, like, I have, there's certain things David Hogg has said about, like, say, population, world populations and stuff like that, and having children that I think are just probably not great as a leader of...
I haven't seen that.
But as far as, like, painting Republicans as pro-school shootings, I do think that needs to be brought back.
Yeah. All right, let's do another clip here. Okay, let's do just 8 because we haven't talked too much about the economy. CNBC did a survey about Donald Trump's tariffs and its hit on his approval rating. People don't like these tariffs. People really do not like these tariffs, specifically Democrats, obviously, but independents. This is how they opened this segment on Thursday.
All America survey, it is out, and our own Steve Leisman is at the table. He's got the results for us.
Good morning, Andrew. Tariffs look to be taking a political toll on President Trump, along with uncertainty and inflation. The CNBC All America Economic Survey finding President Trump's approval rating at 44%, with 51% disapproving. While it's negative, it's slightly above where he was when he left office in 2020. But the poll
Can you pause it?
Economic.
Slightly above where he left office in 2020. What was happening around that time? The coup attempt. People were pretty upset about that. Also, I read it in headlines this morning. The average for the first quarter of a presidency, like the first 4 months, 3 months of a presidency, is 60% approval rating, because this is the honeymoon period where people are like, let me give this person a chance, unless you're a partisan on either side. You're going to say, maybe this time will be different. Maybe this guy's going to be good. And I say guy because that's what it's been. Maybe this guy's going to be good. So it's an average of 60%. Biden only started to get below his disapproval, hitting above his approval during the time when there was the Afghanistan withdrawal. But also, I would say COVID stimulus money was drying up at that time. So it's hard to draw a causal connection to anything. But like, this is extremely bad for a president who was only in the first 3 months of his administration to be at like the majority opinion of being disapproval.
Economic approval at 43% compared with 55% disapproving. It is the lowest economic approval in any CNBC poll while President Trump has been in office, and his first net negative showing on the economy. The president maintains strong support from his base, but he's deeply underwater. That is approval minus disapproval on the economy with Democrats and independents together. In the survey of 1,000 people nationwide, the president has strong support on protecting the southern border. That plus 12 net number you're looking at on your screen or listening on the radio reflects 53% in favor and 51% opposed. He also has a majority favoring his policies deporting illegal immigrants. But the public, net negative on his...
But I'll just say those aren't 80-20 splits, as like Gavin Newsom might say, even on the things that he's strong on.
No, and I encourage people to read this American Prospect article by Ryan Cooper about how a lot of these poll numbers may be a mirage. This is also a lag, right? So this has been the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case has been the water cooler topic across the country for the past week. And we'll put up some numbers in YouGov that show that his immigration numbers are already dipping in just a second. YouGov and The Economist did their own survey. But yeah, like, that's his one issue. It's like if Bernie was president and healthcare was one of the topics. I think his approval would be pretty damn high. It's because that would be his central campaign focus.
Actions to reduce federal government spending and the federal workforce, as well as on foreign policy, tariffs, and especially inflation. Support from his own party, it's still strong on tariffs, but you can see it's below their overall approval of the president, and it's well below water among Democrats and independents. They are lower still on the issue of the president's handling of inflation.
I'm sorry, just pause, keep it up there. Like, well, that's an interesting chart too, but just the negative double-digit numbers on inflation and tariffs from independents, that is really underwater. Like, Trump's floor is very high because of those Republican numbers that you see there. But this is the thing, is that everybody who isn't already in the cult, it's going to be really hard for him to pick up more votes. But keep going.
Lower still on the issue of the president's handling of inflation. Views on the outlook for the economy show that December bump in optimism from the Biden era that greeted President Trump's election, well, it's now been wiped out. The 49% who think the economy will get worse is the highest since 2023. Republican pollster for our poll, Michael Roberts from Public Opinion Strategy, said we're in a turbulent kind of maelstrom of change when it comes to how people feel about what's going to happen next. It's unclear how much these results matter to a president who stayed the course on tariffs amid warnings of recession and a big drop in the stock.
He didn't, though.
No. Well, I mean, the 10% blanket tariff is going to be inflationary.
Right. Of course. Yeah, that stuff is
But
stupid.
yes, he backed off his
Liberation
Navarro
Day.
formula. Yeah.
He called it Liberation Day. And then like 5 days later, he's like, well, people got a little bit jumpy.
You didn't feel like your chains were broken and you were free finally?
I don't think that happened in the Civil War, where Emancipation Proclamation was announced, and then all of a sudden Abe's like, okay, well, we're getting a little bit crazy with it. Okay, let's just relax.
Yippee.
A little bit yippee.
One more?
A little bit.
Market, the public's congressional preference, 48-46 for Democratic control, just barely changed from December. So it doesn't look, folks, like the Democrats are picking up much support here, but the president on the economy appears to have lost quite a bit.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, that's a little bit of an indictment of the Democrats, but we don't need to run with too much polling. It's just yeah, go ahead, Matt.
I mean, that's the thing, is why all these sort of Democrats that proved the entirety of last year that they don't actually understand what's going on with the American people and their sort of kitchen table issues, they act like these sorts of things are separate, like the border crackdown versus tariffs. They're actually the same thing, which is our capitalists displacing the blame for the reason you're having to work harder for less, and your parents are having to work harder for less, and everyone you loved is having to work harder for less than they thought they would 30 years ago. no. It's because you've been robbed by these sorts of people who have been, again, like, yeah, like we can't just be the reason like these it's not going to go to the Democrats is because they haven't elaborated a actual party-wide vision for this. It is going to people like AOC and Bernie who have a very clear and actually the enemy, the correct enemy, and not just a enemy, the enemy of our time, which is oligarchs.
Yes. Yeah. Right. And the Democrats are struggling to identify a villain. The Republicans used immigrants, although I think those numbers are slipping. Just this screenshot I sent in our chat. Adam Carlson and G. Elliott Morris put this graphic together for strength in numbers. But this is from The Economist, I think. Either way.
Source looks like GelliottMorris.com.
Yeah, but the data they got from
G. Elliott Morris.
G. Elliott in part in the earlier part of this survey was from YouGov and The Economist. But this is, I think, is a collection, the average. So you see that immigration is going down. You see immigration is falling, and it's just going to keep falling, in my view. Not that this necessarily matters much. It does matter for the midterms. He's still in office, but you have to wonder when Republicans start to change their calculation about how they're approaching things. You saw Senator Kennedy from Louisiana start to go after Trump on tariffs. Rand Paul did too, although they're always just like the president's really thinking correctly here. It's just the execution. I mean, they're tiptoeing around it, but this is where it gets, like, this is how politics work and power works. The Republicans, they want to get their agenda across. They want these tax cuts for the rich, which are coming in the fall. And then I think you begin to see some more reaction to these numbers. And you should never vote for Republicans, but it will be, I think, an aesthetic change if they're able to deliver for their donors and for rich people with this budget bill that's coming up in the fall.
This is I think I saw this on it's not like you said, like breaking with Trump and then doing it constructively are two different things, but this is
Kennedy yeah. on tariffs.
Trump has been he's been a Rottweiler here, but now he's the Rottweiler who's caught the car. And that's the moment that we're in now.
Can you pause it? I'm sorry. I just this is not a flattering comparison. When we talk about the dog that caught the car, it usually means they're irrationally chasing the car. And then when they get it, they don't know what to do with it.
That's exactly right. John Oliver actually made that exact same point.
Oh, he did?
He said, yeah, famously, the whole thing about that is like the dogs don't know what to do.
Right.
They can't possibly know what to do once they caught the car. It's not, oh, I've caught the car, now let me implement my industrial policy.
It's not the noble act of the dog chasing the car. And I like that he's the Rottweiler dude.
He's not a wiener dog.
Yeah, no, hell no.
What is he going to do with the car?
What else do we need?
Yeah.
What's he going to do with the car? What can a Rottweiler possibly do to a car would be my question.
You can't do it, Vladimir. You do it, it's going to be a bad day.
The best is yet to come.
We will win.
Yes. All right, guys.
Bezos came, Bill Gates came, Mark Zuckerberg came. Many of them came numerous times. The bankers have all come. Everybody's coming.
Condoms. Does everybody know what a condom is?
You sound like a 1930s gangster in that.
Yeah, I know. We're in a little bit of a war here.
Nobody was texting war plans.
Something simple as a crack pipe, a used crack pipe.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's my favorite. Unfortunately, they put operatic slow music behind it, but you got one more?
It's like legalized comedy.
All right, guys. Gonna read some IMs and get out of here. Meg MCA. If the Rottweiler catches a Cybertruck, it can rip off a bunch of the trim.
That's a good point. You could probably destroy a whole Cybertruck.
Ramona Frankenstein. Emma, do you have the BB Dr. Phil clip? I had it on my old computer. Thank you for reminding me, Ramona, because I did clip that, and I don't even remember what it is, but I I left my backpack somewhere and it got stolen and I didn't back up a lot of my stuff. That was like a year and a half ago. So I'm going to remember that. BB, Dr. Phil. There were some funny sound drops from that.
Man, that's like when Alex Turner of the Arctic Monkeys got his lyrics notebook stolen and we lost whole albums.
Oh, well. I wouldn't put it up but put it up there with that, but yeah, I was bummed because I had a good amount of the sound drops. I remembered some of them, but alas.
Can I read a comment?
Yes.
Marcos Granger says, please tell Emma that she shares her birthday with my son Lenny.
Lenny, happy birthday, Lenny. Let's go.
You're playing the game called capitalism.
Nassau County spokesperson did my first ever phone bank yesterday, and it was with was WFP. I am an anxious person, but I had to break through. Hope to phone bank with Zoran next. Let's get to work, people. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm hearing the positive things about the Zoran phone banking, where people are just really enthusiastic. It reminds me of, I remember phone banking for Bernie in 2016, and hearing people coming back from, I think Bernie was actually speaking in New York the night I was phone banking, and people were like, yeah, I'm just coming back from seeing Bernie now. Of course I'm going to vote for him.
No, I mean, honestly, the Zoran campaign reminds me of the AOC campaign, in the sense that, like, New York machine Democrat stands for nothing except corruption, dirty tricks, doing the least, relying on low turnout. Doesn't mean it's going to show up or end up the same way, but that the energy's on his side, and the strategy of Cuomo is very similar from that of Crowley. Corruption, machine politics, low turnout. That's how he wins.
He's got AI on his side, though. Crowley didn't have Grok.
I forgot about that. Dobby Wan. I'm worried there's a significant infiltration of the left by the right wing and or Fed agents whose mission is to divide the left by nitpicking values and pushing conversations into obscure extremes, and generally instigating infighting. I would not be shocked about that.
I mean, that's a long-term, it's a long-time sort of COINTEL strategy. I imagine there's probably some bot activity like that online.
Peter Thiel is clearly, I think, funding certain podcasts that had lefty associations before that are now fairly right-wing, and people can look into that if they want.
But I don't think it's just sort of the ultra-left stuff that those people would be pushing, but more like sort of soft on Israel type of stuff, frankly.
Mr. Melancholy, thanks for the great week. MR Crew, always nice when Sam is out. Late for Life Band. Shout out San Diego. Yay, Russ. Come see us open for Leftover Crack at the Holding Company on the 30th.
I will be in New York where I live now, but best of luck with that. I love Leftover Crack, the drugs, and so maybe the band is cool too.
Richard Spitt, NIH employees got an email today instructing them to stop defacing Trump portraits with Post-it notes that say rapist. That's pretty funny.
I love the idea of somebody that has worked their entire life to get a job at the National Institutes of Health that would do something very cool like that.
Yes. We genuinely like it. All right, 5 more. Mia Pink. Chris Hayes just interviewed Peter Beinart about his upcoming book, Being Jewish After the Destruction of Gaza, A Reckoning on Why This Is Happening. I don't know Mr. Beinart had South African roots. He's also so angry about anti-Semitism being used to further this administration's goals in the region and disgusted by the student kidnapping and expulsions going on to protect Judaism. You should check out our interview with Peter Beinart, probably from a year and a half ago at this point. I still cite the quote that he says there, which is that you're more likely to believe in Israel if you believe in the myth of America being a promised land founded on a hostile frontier. It's the same myth for Israel. And the people that are more willing to challenge that myth of American exceptionalism are more willing to challenge Israel's myth of exceptionalism. And that is the thing that I say. I cite that quote all the time. Beinart's a really important writer on this.
I mean, truthfully, it's Zionism. And not even by analogy, by explicit terminology. If you would have said you're a Zionist to Cotton Mather in Massachusetts 400 years ago, he would have known exactly what you meant.
Yeah.
We need to get rid of we need to get rid of the Canaanites, which is the Native Americans here.
Center Spiral, I don't know Palestinian representation was being removed at these rallies. F them, I'm done. Well, don't be done. We just have constructive feedback.
Well, I mean, yeah, who knows how that who's like directing security and stuff like that. Maybe they have like blanket arena rules for the flags. I will say, I watched AOC in Missoula, AOC Bernie and Sarah Nelson in Missoula. The first big standing ovation where AOC had to stop her speech was when she mentioned folks being censored and detained for speaking out for Palestine. But yes, I people don't like to say it because there's a lot of good momentum and I don't want to harsh the vibe here. But we people said this all of last year. Palestine might not bite us in the ass. It bit the Democrats in the ass, and AOC and Bernie should not get behind the movement of people that they are drawing on the issue of Israel-Palestine. And I just hope that they don't.
Zodiac sign Emma is an Aries, element fire. Was there any doubt? Let them burn. Andrew Cuomo says, what was old is new again? Elect me mayor of New York or I will launch a massive campaign to replace every teacher with ChatGPT. I am the real victim. Josh You Watch says, I didn't know till today Sam was on vacation and was genuinely concerned he got disappeared. No, he's on vacation. It's spring break.
I think we would be acting a little bit differently.
Yeah, we don't worry though.
Anyway, let's have some beers today.
Yeah.
It's Friday.
It's my birthday. Just another guy. April 2nd was Liberation Day, just not for the U.S., but rather for the rest of the world being free from U.S. global hegemony.
No.
Yeah, but I hear your point. Brandon's, yesterday ABC ran a package pointing out that Abrego Garcia's wife had previously held a temporary restraining order against him, beyond sickening that they're trying to justify stripping him of his rights and dehumanizing him.
What does it tell you that they have to resort to that sort of thing?
Yeah. If you choose to be a woman abuser and you're a white guy, you could be Secretary of Defense. So he should probably focus on like changing the whole race that he is a part of thing, and then the administration will like you. And the final I am of the week. Lavender allergy. Referring to anyone else as a dog is Tom Homan erasure. If we give him a Kong full of peanut butter, we could delay all deportations for a good 4 to 6 hours.
I'm just thinking about him going face first into a plate.
I've never heard the term Kong before. I've thought it was like a licky ball. But I guess Kongs are the other ones where you put the peanut butter in the toy. I think that's a good point. All right, guys. Appreciate you all. Thank you all for
so much I would love to know about being a 21-year-old girl.
Disgusting. Thanks so much, folks. Appreciate you all. Thank you for the happy birthday wishes. And we will see you all on Monday. Bye-bye.